cute he is. We're making mini cakes. My name is Lori and you're watching The Icing Artist. To start off, I made one batch of my vanilla cake batter that I poured into a big cake pan so that way later I can cut out little cakes out of this one big cake. I leveled off the top of my large cake and then just used the circle cutter to cut out little circles. I cut out one that was a bit smaller of a circle for the owl one. Gotta say, the nice thing about making mini cakes is you can bake one big one and make lots of little ones. I then cut all my little round cakes in half so that I put a yummy filling on the inside. For the unicorn, I wanted to make like a rainbow filling, so I had like a rainbow stripe on the inside. So I dyed my buttercream pink, yellow, purple, and blue, and then just piped a circle of each color going inwards. Then when you cut it open, you're gonna see all those little colors in that little tiny baby slice. Added my second layer on top, and now for the impossibly difficult part of how to ice these. I watched so many videos to see how other people did them, but they just wobble all over the place. So I took a shish kebab skewer and I hammered that right down through my cake into my cake board to stop it from wobbling around, and this worked great. I then used my buttercream icing to give my cake a nice little crumb coat. Pulled out the shish kebab skewer and then just finished leveling off that icing. Because I couldn't get it perfectly smooth with buttercream icing, I'm gonna cover it in fondant. So I rolled out my fondant and then just draped that right over my little mini cake. And because it's so tiny, it was a little bit challenging to cover, but I just used my hands and really tried to push that fondant in, and then trimmed off the excess. Now for our unicorn's little baby horn, I just used 2 pieces of yellow fondant and twist those together into a little horn. To stick this into my cake, I'm using spaghetti. I'm just gonna stick that into my horn and then dust it gold. For its ears, I cut out little triangles out of white fondant and yellow fondant that I dusted gold, layered those up, and pinched the one end. I'm gonna set these aside for now so I can work on that buttercream mane. Next up is drawing those, iconic eyes onto our unicorn's face. I'm gonna be using an edible marker, which is absolutely terrifying because if I go too far with the line, his eyes are gonna look really wonky. Deep breaths. Tried really hard to have a really steady hand and drew on those little eyes. And for that beautiful unicorn mane, I just used these tiny little star tips and piped little baby rosettes going all throughout it. It looks so cute. I love making these tiny little things. And just added those ears right on, and we waited so that they could stick into the buttercream and hold them onto the cake. First mini cake down, 4 more to go. But now that we got the basic steps through, we're gonna be whipping through these really quick. Second cake is gonna be the owl cake, which is the combination of the round cake and the dome cake, which I found these little dome cake pans, which aren't exactly cake pans. They may or may not be bath bomb molds, but they are food grade. So I just piped some cake batter into them and they will work perfect. Now that my cakes are all baked, I just popped those cakes right out of their little dome molds. Leveled off the top and then carved off the sides to make sure they were perfect little domes, which I just layered up and crumb coated with pink buttercream icing. Now my owl cake that I made, link right here, I did a petal technique where you usually use a spoon where you pipe on a dot and use a spoon to brush this up, except this is so tiny and I don't have little baby Barbie doll spoons. So I piped on my little dots and used my veining tool to brush it up, and it worked just as well. But I mean, if you have little baby doll Barbie spoons that you could use to do this, use the spoon. That works too. I piped the pink petal technique going just on the front of the cake, and then took my chocolate buttercream and did the exact same technique going all over the rest of the cake. And then I made its little eyes and its beak and its ears. Even though owls don't have ears, this one's gonna have ears because it's cute. And its little feet out of fondant, and just stuck those all on my cake. Now if you guys remember the cow cake that I made on my channel a little while ago, I will leave a link right here, had a cow pattern inside the actual cake. So we're gonna do the same thing, at least try to do the same thing miniaturized. So I took some of that vanilla cake batter, I added in some cocoa powder to make a chocolate cake. Now I started off with the chocolate base because I didn't want to add as much black food coloring. If you're dyeing it from brown to black, you don't have to add as much. Now to do the cow pattern, I just piped in little rings going all the way into my pan. If you want to see how to do the actual thing, click that video. That will explain it more than I'm going to do here. I've got other animal cakes to make. But let's get on to decorating it. I crumb coated the dome using my buttercream icing and just covered that with white fondant. Thankfully, dome cakes are the easiest cakes in the world to cover in fondant because they don't have any edges. I then molded its little snout out of fondant and added on those little details, glued that onto the cake using some water, along with his legs and his little feet. Added this baby little tiny tail, which I thought was really cute. Made the same kind of ears we did with the unicorn cake and then added on this little baby tuft of hair. Now for this cow spots, I mixed my black food coloring with a little bit of alcohol so that way I could paint them on, and this worked fantastic. I used the smallest paintbrush I could possibly find and then very carefully painted a cow splotchy pattern. Loved how this one came out. I don't think this is exactly a fail. It's not quite a cow pattern, but I feel like the attempt is worth something, you know? Besides, look, it's like the cutest slice of cake ever, right? If you guys haven't subscribed to this channel yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that little notification bell. I mean, like you click it and that's how you ring it, so you see my videos. Next up, we're gonna do the giraffe cake, which was one of my favorite animals I've actually made into cake. If you guys haven't seen all of the animal cakes I've done, I will leave a full playlist right here because I have made big versions of all these little versions. I just layered up that little mini cake with some yellow buttercream icing and crumb coated it and then covered it with some yellow fondant. Smoothed it out, and then for its fondant details, I used some brown fondant to make its little snout. Added on a miniature smile, how cute is that? And made some little fondant eyes. Now before I continue on with the rest of the details, I need to paint this. Now for that giraffe pattern, I did the same thing I did with the cow pattern except with brown food coloring. And just painted on these little brown giraffe splotches, which are kind of like triangle and square, and it's a really weird pattern if you actually look it up. Once that pattern is done, I just added on the same kind of ears and its little kind of horn things. Super adorable, but we need to get to the last cake. My little piggy cake. I crumb coated and covered it in pink fondant, then formed its little snout out of pink fondant and added that on with some water and did the same thing with its hooves that I just cut a little slit into it so it looked like, you know, the hooves. I feel like it's cloven hooves or something. I remember you guys commenting this. Added on the cutest, most tiniest little spirally curly tail, and then cut out little triangles for these big kind of floppy piggy ears. And that's it, our pig is done. Okay guys, I loved making all these miniature cakes. I've never made miniature versions of my regular size cakes. If you guys want to see me miniaturize any more of my cakes, let me know down in the comment section below. And of course, don't forget to come back here again next week so we can make something else into cake. Bye guys.